Now, I think what matters a lot, and what I experienced during my 15 years as head of Swiss Development Cooperation before I retired 3 years ago, was, and my question still is, did the shift of paradigm really happen? That we went from aid to cooperation. Everybody's talking about, but I'm not so sure whether that shift really happened. It might have happened in smaller countries with bilateral. It might have cooperation, might have happened with some multilateral institutions. But you still find a lot of, let's say, countries with considerable political arm-twisting power that they still look at development cooperation as a matter of aid and not of cooperation, because cooperation would mean partnership. And partnership means you sit together, you define together what you want to do, and you share your responsibility. But at the end, the one who wants that development has to be in the driver's seat. The problem of the international system is that you have a multitude of partners, institutions. You have even major agendas allocated to certain institutions, but they always go beyond their limits. They always, it's a little bit like in your garden, the apple of your neighbor is very often tasting better than your own apple. Or they build fences around them. Many of these actors do not like competition. They do not like to get away from their well-protected behavior patterns. Many of them are behaving in their own world like the diplomats do, protected by the protocol. So the diplomats and the development people are a little bit like the military people. They follow the doctrines. Those three are not bound to be, let's say, foremost open to change. I'm sorry to say that. I served in all three. But we could do better in addressing the issues, in going for coherence inside the system. But the system is not to outcompete actors, but it is competitive, and it is run the way that you have to deliver. And in my opinion, those who are not able to deliver should not go to the table. This conditionality is a terrible sickness, because it's so easy to discuss about preconditions. What should be fulfilled before you give, before you do, before you act? It is a mere sickness, but it's a sign of weakness, because very often the people do not know what they want. And in the last 10, 15 years, I experienced often that it became a playground for diplomats, because you don't need to know a lot, and you can do a lot of political staging without instructions, just doing things your way. Conditionality leads very often to undue linkages, to instrumentalization of cooperation for other purposes, and not poverty alleviation or poverty reduction. And that is what I think we, in the international system, still did not manage over the last 40 years. The question always comes up about local contribution. 14 years ago, I asked a group of professors in ethics in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, to reflect on whether we need a new ethic or new ethics for international cooperation in time of globalization. They came to the conclusion, no, but the situation has changed. The old paradigm of partition, like the Holy Saint George, give part of what you have to the poor, that alone does not work anymore in the future. It should be combined with self-enlightened interest, taking into account the other partner's interest. And then you might come to a kind of partnership. And I think that has a lot to do with the approach. I call that the investor's approach. Impact is important, and all the ingredients to have impact or to measure impact I mentioned are important. But we made a bureaucracy out of it. I think Robert Kennedy, the historian, he was right in questioning whether we measure the right thing. And my former colleague Andrew Natsios, he published recently a whole big article on the counter-bureaucracy of aid. When I look back 10 years and now at international aid today is far more bureaucratic. That is a result of this culture of measuring everything and anything. But we measure how many people are in prison, we measure how many things are. But do we measure how many people are happy? Do we measure the outcome? Do we map the outcome? And to end, what matters for success are always people, partners, results, and not action